I said, Gucci, you just have to accept that you're not well and fix it. Just accept it.
Gucci Mane's story doesn't start with fame, money, or luxury. It starts with pain, chaos, and survival. Imagine building a whole music culture with your bare hands, only to watch that same culture slowly try to kill you. This is not just a rap story. This is a warning. A rise so powerful it changed hip-hop forever, and a fall so deep it almost ended everything. Before the Grammys, before the weight loss, before the smiles and suits, Gucci Mane was standing in blood, fighting for his life. And the craziest part? Most people still don't know how close he came to losing it all. For the first 60 seconds, let me ask you something. What would you do if success finally knocked on your door, and death walked in right behind it? What if the song that made you famous also put a target on your head? What if the streets that raised you...
When I had an episode in like 2019 or 2020, around COVID, like after that I was like, man, I gotta really just hold myself accountable and take care of my health.
...refused to ever let you go. Gucci Mane lived that reality. Prison cells, shootouts, mental illness, dead friends, artists dying under his label one by one. This is the tragic fate of Gucci Mane, and how trap music's biggest architect almost destroyed himself, while building an empire for everyone else. In 2005, Gucci Mane was finally starting to see real money. After years of grinding in Atlanta, his song Icy with Young Jeezy began to move heavy in the streets. Clubs were playing it non-stop. DJs were spinning it everywhere. For the first time, people outside of Atlanta knew the name Gucci Mane. It felt like the breakthrough moment every artist dreams about. Fame was finally calling. But that same year, everything almost ended before it truly began. One night, a group of men showed up at Gucci Mane's house. This was not random. This was not a robbery gone wrong. These men were affiliates of Young Jeezy's CTE label, and they came with a clear purpose. Tension between Gucci and Jeezy was already high, fueled by ego, money, and street politics. What happened next would change Gucci's life forever and turn a rap beef into something deadly real. Shots were fired. Blood hit the concrete. When it was over, one man was dead. His name was Henry Lee Clark III, but the streets knew him as Pookie Lock. Gucci Mane had shot and killed him. The police investigated the case, and eventually the charges were dropped. It was ruled self-defense. Legally, Gucci walked free. Mentally, he never did. Because even when the law says you're innocent, the streets don't forget. Gucci had taken a life, and now an entire camp of people wanted him gone. This wasn't a fake rap beef where artists trade diss tracks and then shake hands at award shows. This was real. The diss songs came, yes, but so did real-world consequences, threats, fear, paranoia. Gucci couldn't sleep. Everywhere he went, he felt watched. Success had officially become dangerous. But here's something most people don't talk about enough. Gucci Mane's life was already on a destructive path long before that shooting. Long before fame, before beefs, before record deals. In April 2001, when Gucci was just 21 years old, he was arrested on cocaine charges. He served 90 days in jail. That moment quietly set a pattern that would repeat again and again for the next 15 years of his life. The streets raised Gucci Mane, but the streets never stopped pulling him back. Jail became familiar. Courtrooms felt normal. Mugshots became routine. Every time Gucci tried to move forward, something dragged him right back into chaos. And as his music career grew, so did his problems. Despite everything, Gucci kept releasing music. Mixtape after mixtape. Song after song. He didn't slow down. In fact, he worked even harder. He helped build trap music into what it is today. He gave platforms to artists like Waka Flocka Flame, Future, Young Thug, and many more. Gucci wasn't just a rapper. He was a movement. A factory of sound. But behind the scenes, his mind was slowly breaking. Gucci Mane was dealing with schizophrenia, something he didn't fully understand at the time. He self-medicated with drugs, lean, pills, alcohol, anything to quiet the voices and the paranoia. Instead of getting help, he drowned himself deeper. His behavior became unpredictable. One moment he was a genius, the next he was self-destructive. Fans laughed it off. The internet turned his breakdowns into memes. But this wasn't funny. This was a man losing control in real time. Prison became a constant part of Gucci's life. He went in, he came out. He went back in again. Each time a little more broken than before. His label, 1017 Brick Squad, started to feel like a cursed place. Artists around him began to die. Some from violence. Some from drugs. Some from lifestyle choices they couldn't escape. Gucci watched people he cared about disappear one by one. And it added more weight to an already collapsing mind. At his lowest point, Gucci Mane weighed over 300 pounds. He looked unhealthy. He sounded exhausted. Many people thought he wouldn't survive much longer. The same man who helped shape modern hip-hop looked like he was becoming another tragic statistic. Then something unexpected happened. Prison didn't break Gucci this time. It saved him. During his final major prison sentence, Gucci Mane did something he had never truly done before. He got sober. No drugs, no alcohol, no excuses. He read books. He exercised. He faced his mental health head-on. For the first time, Gucci wasn't running from himself. When he came home in 2016, the world saw a completely different Gucci Mane, slim, focused, calm, married, healthy. It shocked everyone. People called it a clone joke, but the truth was deeper. This was a man who finally chose life over chaos. Gucci Mane didn't just survive. He evolved. He rebuilt his career with clarity. He repaired relationships. He became a better businessman, a better husband, a better version of himself. But the scars never disappeared. He still carries the weight of his past. The lives lost, the time wasted, the moments he can never get back. Gucci Mane's story is not just about trap music. It's about the cost of success when it's built on pain. It's about how the streets can give you everything and still take your soul if you're not careful. It's about mental health, trauma, and the importance of choosing growth before it's too late. Today, Gucci Mane stands as a living reminder that redemption is possible. But his journey also proves that survival often comes after unimaginable loss. He came dangerously close.
I don't never want to have an episode again. I'm gonna see a therapist. I just didn't never want to have that happen again. And then my wife was pregnant. I don't want to raise a family and then my mental health gone with it.
Close to losing everything. His freedom, his mind, his life. And if there's one lesson in Gucci Mane's story, it's this. Talent can open doors. Fame can change lives. But without discipline, healing, and self-control, success can become the most dangerous enemy of all.
If I have an episode I can't come back from, it's like starting to do the work and start seeking the help.
I mean, the things he would say are really, really bad. And I just have to take a deep breath. Like I said, I'm not talking to you right now. You want to sit here and be crazy alone? I'm not going to allow you to be crazy alone.
Most people never talk about the ones who were standing closest to him. Watching him slowly lose himself, watching the warning signs get louder, watching the breakdowns become public and still choosing silence. And that silence is where the story truly begins. Because this is not just a story about Gucci Mane and music. This is a story about survival.
At one point, I called his attorney, I called some bodyguards, and I just planned a whole kidnap, and we kidnapped him and took him to the hospital because we could not get him to the hospital.
Survival, loneliness, pressure. And what really happens when the world profits from your pain? So for the first 60 seconds, forget the chains, forget the cars, forget the mansion. And imagine being surrounded by people every day, yet feeling completely alone. Imagine crying for help through your lyrics, your actions, your public meltdowns. And instead of help, you get laughs, cameras, and applause. That was Gucci Mane's reality for years. And the hardest truth he had to face was that a healthy support system doesn't always mean adding better people. Sometimes it means removing the ones who never cared if you lived.
You know how much it costs for jury? I would give my friends jury and they know I went well, they'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Damn. They take advantage of you.
I felt like, damn, they know something's going on with me, but they'll take it. So it's when I got out of jail, I cut off all my friends. My old friends, I'm like, damn, they were taking advantage.
Or died. Once he did that, everything started to change. Now today, people often say Gucci's music doesn't feel the same. And in some ways, they're right. The hunger of early Gucci, the raw desperation in projects like Chicken Talk is almost impossible to recreate. When you're no longer starving, when you're sleeping in peace, when you're not fighting demons every night just to survive. But the biggest mistake people make is thinking Gucci Mane's importance was ever about just songs. It wasn't, it never was. Gucci Mane created a blueprint, a roadmap that an entire generation of artists would later follow. Along with T.I. and Jeezy in the mid-2000s, he helped build trap music from the ground up. The sound, the 808s, the street narratives, the independent grind, the culture itself. Every artist today who raps about the streets over heavy bass is standing on that foundation, whether they admit it or not. At this point, Gucci's influence is so deeply baked into the genre that people don't even
apologize to everybody. I apologize to everybody who would accept my call. I apologize to.
When you see artists doing that now, do you know exactly what they're going through?
I wish I could talk to the people that know them to tell them how to help them.
I tried to reach out to Kim when Kanye was going through an episode. It bothered me so much, but I don't know her, and I didn't want to feel like a group.
In question, where it came from. It's just part of the air, but success came with a heavy cost. Because 1017 Records wasn't just a label. It became a cycle of young talent, raw potential, and repeated tragedy. Artist after artist came in with dreams and left with jail time, addiction, violence, or broken futures. Most people would have shut the door.
I said, Gucci, you just have to accept that you're not well and fix it. Just accept it.
Forever after witnessing that kind of pain. But Gucci didn't, even after all the loss. Even after all the heartbreak connected to his label. He's still willing to invest in the next generation. He talks about big plans for Pushisti once he gets off home confinement. He mentions wanting to work with Fujiano when he comes home too. And from the outside that might look naive, like he's setting himself up for disappointment all over again. But if you really understand Gucci Mane, it makes perfect sense. Because he sees himself in these young artists, he was them. He was the troubled kid from the streets who needed someone to give him a chance. He was the artist making bad decisions while trying to make good music. He was the one everyone expected to crash out, the one nobody thought would survive. And somehow he did, not without scars, not without damage, not without losing parts of himself along the way, but he survived anyway. And today Gucci Mane isn't chasing chaos anymore. He's chasing stability, growth, and meaning. He's still working, still creating, still trying to help others avoid the mistakes that almost destroyed him. And no, he doesn't always get it right. Sometimes the same cycles repeat, sometimes the system fails again. But intent matters, growth matters, and survival matters. The easy choice would have been to disappear quietly and enjoy the money. But that's never been who Gucci is. His legacy today isn't measured only by charts or classic albums. It's measured by influence, culture, and proof that even someone written off as lost can change their life. Gucci Mane is living evidence that survival doesn't always look clean or perfect. Sometimes it looks like scars, discipline, and walking away from people you once loved. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over chaos even when chaos made you famous. He survived anyway, and he's still here, still standing, still building, still trying to turn his pain into guidance for the next generation. And that is why Gucci Mane's story will always matter. Thank you for watching. And if you want to watch another powerful story like this, click one of the videos on your screen right now. Most people don't understand this simple truth until life completely breaks them. Routines don't limit you. They save you, and this is where Gucci Mane's story really begins, not with fame, not with money, not with chains or charts, but with survival. Because when life gets chaotic, routines are the only thing standing between you and self-destructs. And Gucci learned this the hardest way possible. He's been to the edge more than once, places most people never come back from. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and every time he ignored structure, everything fell apart, relationships, health, freedom, and even his sense of reality. He openly admits that when he doesn't protect his routines, his mind spirals fast and the consequences are real. Not motivational quotes, not Instagram captions, but prison cells, broken trust, and near-death moments. That's why stability is not optional for him.
And absolutely, he had so many artists from back in the day, and because of this, you know, they re-signed with other people or whatever the situation is, and it pisses me off because none of them respects him. Or give him the credit like Gucci signed me, Gucci's the one that got me out the slum, Gucci's the one that changed my life. None of them talks about that. Not one.
Him anymore. It's survival. And at the center of that stability stands one person who didn't walk away. When things got ugly, Keshia Koyar. Their relationship isn't a fairy tale, it's a recovery plan. She didn't fall in love with Gucci Mane the brand. She stayed with Radric Davis the human being. Especially during his darkest episodes when most people would run, judge, or exploit. When she saw signs of a mental crash coming, she didn't argue, she acted. She deleted his apps to cut off chaos before it took control. She stepped in when his judgment disappeared. She organized interventions when he couldn't even admit he needed help. That's not romance you see in movies, that's partnership rooted in awareness, responsibility, and love with boundaries. She understood that loving someone with mental health struggles doesn't mean enabling them. It means protecting them, even when they resist. Gucci himself admits that without her, he might not be here today because during his worst moments, he wasn't capable of saving himself. And that's a powerful lesson most people miss. Sometimes strength is not doing everything alone. It's letting the right person step in before you destroy everything. Gucci also learned another painful truth after prison: not everyone around you wants you well. Some people love you only when you're losing control because your chaos benefits them. He had to cut off friends who were there during his episodes, not to help him, but to take advantage. People who happily accepted expensive jewelry while knowing something was deeply wrong. People who cheered his reckless behavior instead of questioning it. After prison, he made the hardest decision: to walk away from everyone who enabled his worst version. And that wasn't easy because loneliness feels safer than fake loyalty. but it's also the beginning of real healing. Gucci's transformation didn't happen overnight. It wasn't magic. It wasn't motivation. It was discipline repeated daily, boring routines done consistently, hard boundaries enforced without apology, and a complete shift in how he viewed himself. He stopped romanticizing self-destructs. He stopped glorifying pain. He accepted that mental health requires maintenance just like physical health. He learned that success means nothing if you're unstable inside. His story is proof that recovery is not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming aware. Aware of your triggers. Aware of your limits. Aware of the people who push you forward versus the ones pulling you backward. Gucci Mane today is not just a rapper who survived prison. He's a man who chose structure over chaos, truth over comfort, and healing over ego. And the real message here is not about fame, it's about responsibility. If you know your patterns, protect yourself. If you know what breaks you, build systems against it. If you know who enables your worst behavior, let them go, no matter how long they've been around. Because the cost of staying the same is always higher than the pain of changing. Gucci didn't change because life got easy. He changed because he didn't want to go back to the edge ever again. And that's the lesson. Routines are not boring, they are freedom. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are survival. And real love doesn't clap for your destruction, it pulls you back when you're losing yourself. And the reason this story continues to connect with people is because it feels unfinished. In the most honest way possible. Gucci Mane's life never followed a clean comeback arc. There was no single moment where everything magically became better. It was slow, uncomfortable, and often boring. And that's something people rarely celebrate. Because boring doesn't go viral, chaos does. But Gucci learned that chaos always demands payment. Sometimes in jail time, sometimes in addiction. Sometimes in lost friends, and sometimes in lives that never get a second chance. And once you've watched that happen enough times, the thrill disappears, the illusion breaks. And what's left is a quiet realization that survival itself is a responsibility. Gucci carries that responsibility every time he signs a new artist. Every time he steps back into a studio, every time he chooses patience over impulse. Because he knows how thin the line really is. He knows how easy it is to make one decision that changes everything. And that knowledge doesn't come from theory. It comes from lived experience, from nights that didn't end well. From moments that could have gone a different way.
Roll of the dice.
Yeah.
Shiesty, he home. He still on the label.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Shiesty, I got big plans for Shiesty, man.
Yeah.
That's who I've been waiting on, Shiesty.
And from seeing people he cared about never make it to the other side. And that's why his advice often sounds simple. Almost too simple because real wisdom usually does. It's not flashy, it's not poetic, it's practical. Stay focused. Stay.
Yeah.
So, we finna go up through there now. And Pooh finna come out too, and I got big plans for him too. I got to just execute these
Everything
plans.
right on time.
Bro, it's very exciting times now.
Yeah.
I've been waiting on them, I can't lie.
Disciplined, protect your peace, watch who's around you. And don't confuse excitement with purpose. Lessons that only make sense after you've paid for them, and Gucci paid for them publicly. In front of an audience that sometimes rooted for his downfall more than his growth. And that public pressure is something most people will never understand. Because fame doesn't just amplify success, it amplifies mistakes. It turns private struggles into entertainment. And it surrounds you with people who benefit when you're unstable. Gucci had to learn how to separate real love from opportunistic loyalty. How to tell the difference between support and spectatorship, and that process was painful. Because it meant accepting that some people never wanted him healthy. They wanted him entertaining, they wanted the chaos because it made good content. And walking away from that version of himself meant walking away from certain expectations. But that decision is exactly why he's still here. Still breathing, still creating, still evolving. And when people say his music doesn't feel the same anymore, they're right because he's not the same person anymore. And expecting the same pain from someone who chose healing is unfair. But it also reveals something deeper about how audiences consume art. We say we want artists to grow, but we often punish them when they do. We say we want authenticity, but we only accept it when it looks a certain way. Gucci Mane challenged that by refusing to self-destruct on schedule, by refusing to play the role people had written for him. And that resistance is part of his legacy too. Because legacy isn't just about what you create, it's about what you refuse to repeat. Gucci refused to repeat the cycle that almost killed him. And that choice sends a quiet but powerful message to every artist watching. That you don't owe the world your pain, you don't owe anyone access to your breakdown. And you don't owe the audience a tragic ending just to prove you were real. Gucci Mane already proved he was real when he survived. And survival isn't glamorous, it doesn't come with standing ovations. It comes with routine, restraint, and sometimes loneliness. Because growth often separates you from people who only knew the old version of you. And Gucci accepted that cost. He accepted that being healthy might mean being misunderstood, that being disciplined might mean being labeled boring, and that choosing peace might mean losing attention. But he also knew that attention fades and consequences don't. And that understanding changed how he moves through the world. Today, when Gucci talks about the next generation, there's a mix of hope and caution in his voice. Because he believes in their talent, but he's seen how quickly talent can be wasted when it's surrounded by the wrong influences. And instead of preaching, he leads by example, by showing what it looks like to still be here after the storm, to still have a future after being counted out, to still have something to give after taking so many hits. And that example matters more than speeches ever could. Because people don't change from being told what to do, they change from seeing what's possible. And Gucci Mane is living proof that change doesn't erase who you were. It just stops who you were from deciding who you'll become. His past will always be part of his story. The scars will always exist, the losses will always hurt. But they no longer define him, they inform him, they guide him. And they remind him why staying alive is an act of resistance in a culture that profits from destruction. Gucci Mane resisted that culture. Not perfectly, not instantly, but persistently. And that persistence is what makes his journey worth studying, worth talking about, worth remembering. Because in a world full of short-lived success stories and tragic endings, his story keeps going, not louder, not crazier, but stronger, steadier, and more intentional. And that's why his impact will outlast trends, because trends fade, sounds change, and attention moves on, but survival, growth, and influence leave permanent marks. And Gucci Mane has left those marks on music, on culture, and on the idea that no matter how far gone someone seems, change is still possible as long as they're alive long enough to choose it. And Gucci Mane chose it again and again. And that choice is the real reason his story still matters today. Because it reminds us that being here is not guaranteed, staying here takes work. And sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is refuse to disappear when the world expects them to.